video is going to show you guys how to go on ahead and add the Lego Batman designs from the very first video game into Lego Batman DC Supervillains without hacks. What's up, guys? How's it going, everybody? My name is Blitzwinger, and ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, lately I have been playing more Lego Batman 1 because I've been into speedruns, and what better game to speedrun first than Lego Batman 1, the video game? While playing that game, I realized I really like the designs and the simplicity of the designs from the first Lego Batman game and would love to see them in Lego DC Supervillains. However, of course, without utilizing mods or texture mods or hacks, it becomes a little bit of a pain to add them into the game. Fortunately enough, the customizer in this game is phenomenal, and so I still managed to go on ahead and build all of them. So let's kick things off with Mr. J himself, aka Big Joker himself, wielding the dual-wielding pistols, ready to rock, ready to roll, looking very, very cool. And by the way, for those of you like, oh bro, it's not really all that different. What do you mean, bro? Here's the design from Lego DC Supervillains. I think when you see them side by side, you really get an idea of just how different the designs are between the two. Don't get me wrong, by the way, I think that the Lego DC Supervillains design is pretty cool as well. He looks very menacing and unhinged, but there's something to the overall simplicity of the old school design that I really, really like quite a bit. Next up, we have Harley Quinn. Obviously, after Joker, it only makes sense that the next character up would be Harley Quinn, and you can see the two of them here side by side. Very, very different looks, of course, for these two characters without a shadow of a doubt. Once again, I do understand the appeal of the more modern takes on these characters and how much more complex they look because there's just more details to them. I mean, literally, this version of Harley is wearing rollerblades as well. So obviously, it's a really cool take on the character. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that it isn't, but I would just say that there's something to the charm of the simplicity of the older designs and having them in-game. Even the mask itself being uniquely different, because if we look at the Batman animated series Harley, the mask design is actually different to what it looked like in the Batman animated game. So instead, I utilized a custom mask to get it to look closer to that particular design. For this next one, it was quite a bit of a difficult one to assemble because this is the Riddler. It was predominantly challenging to go on ahead and get the right color combination, and of course the actual hairpiece that they use for this character is no longer a viable character piece. They don't really use that hairpiece for any Lego game, and honestly even any Lego sets as of late for quite a while now. So unfortunately I had to try to improvise and find as close of a match as I possibly could. This is probably the weakest of the lineup in my personal opinion, and yes, if you would like to see it side by side with the actual in-game design, here's what the two of them look like next to one another. Next, we've got the one and only Penguin. This one was very difficult to do justice just because there is no shorter leg piece available in the game, unfortunately, without using obviously hacks or mods or anything like that. So this one was a little bit difficult to get right necessarily, but I'm still pretty happy with how this one turned out, especially when we compare it to the original design here, where I think he looks substantially different. Again, not saying that one is worse or one is better than the other. I just genuinely think that they are completely different aspects for this character and completely different takes on the character, where one looks a lot more comic booky and over the top, which would be this one, not because he's taller, and then the other one looks a lot more kind of cinematic looking and more stylized for sure. For the next character, you probably are seeing double and you're thinking to yourself, what the heck is different between these two variants? Because they are very, very similar. I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of similarity between these two designs. In the Lego Batman video game original design, you did not actually see the eyes of Selina Kyle, so they didn't have like the pupil or anything like that on the mask. So I tried to replicate that, which is why the left design is obviously the Batman video game design. And then, of course, the same thing goes for the lower part of the mask where her entire face is exposed, whereas on this one you can see that only partially of the face is exposed. Beyond that, it's pretty much the same costume, which is interesting to see because it pretty much implies that this is one of the few characters that seemingly has not gone through all that much evolution between the original look that she had in the very first Lego Batman game and all the way up to the fourth Lego DC game with this look right here. Next, we have the Scarecrow. Scarecrow, and he looks ever terrifying. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. We have the Scarecrow, and he looks ever terrifying. Yes, this is yet another one of the designs that is quite similar because seemingly it has not gone through that much of an evolution. So on the left-hand side of your screen, you will currently see the design from LEGO DC Supervillains, which would be this one right here. And then on the right-hand side, you will see the design that looks much more akin to the look that we saw in LEGO Batman, the video game. Now, if you want to talk about a character that has gone through an evolution, look to no other than the one and only Killer Croc. This is one of the coolest, unique differences from the first LEGO Batman game, and honestly, I think it's a change for the better because I do really love this design. However, to do an homage to LEGO Batman 1, the video game, here is the custom character. Yes, it looks like if Killer Croc kind of went on a massive diet, skipped leg day, arm day, chest day, every day basically at the gym, that is pretty much how he would wind up, but this is a lot more akin to what he looked like in the very first LEGO Batman video game. And we go from one killer to another, from Croc to Moth. Here is Killer Moth, and I am so freaking happy with how this one turned out. It was not an easy design to try to replicate because it is such a specific look for this character. I even tried to go on ahead and replicate the inability to actually fly and more so do that little like hover pattern that Killer Moth had in the very first game. So I did go on ahead and choose that instead of the regular flight ability, and I think it turned out really cool. He has his blaster gun in hand, the really cool green helmet. Freeze! It is time for Mr. Freeze himself. This is our next character, and boy oh boy did he ever get an upgrade. Boy oh boy did he ever need an upgrade, because if we look at LEGO DC Supervillains, of course it's a much more complicated and over the top look, much more detailed, of course, a lot more going on for the character itself. But I gotta say, once again, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just purely nostalgia. There is something to the simplistic design of the original Mr. Freeze design. I just think it looks cool. I know that there's not too many details here to it. Maybe it's the fact that you have to kind of use your imagination a lot more to identify this character correctly, but I think it looks really cool as well, and there's just something to that ever classic simplicity. For the next character, we have her surrounded by plants. How appropriate. It is the one and only Poison Ivy. This is the more modernized version of Ivy here. You'll see pretty similar-ish design overall. Really did not get an complete overhaul as far as the character is concerned. Boom! Next up, it is the mighty Bane. And I gotta say, again, very cool design here for Bane. Here is the LEGO DC Supervillains redesign. You'll obviously see some similarities between the two. Interestingly enough, I guess he went from jeans to like maybe black jeans, I suppose, or black pants. Regardless, the complexity for this character really comes more so from the apparatus on his back. Now it is an actual brick-built component, whereas in LEGO Batman, it was just an actual print. So interesting to see that. And of course, the other massive difference is the fact that the LEGO DC Supervillains version of Bane can do this. Boom! So that is obviously incredibly cool to see, and I do think that it's appropriate for the character of Bane. It gives him a little bit more volume as a character, so that's definitely neat. But once again, I'm happy to get this design in the game as well. And I arguably saved the best for last. This is TwoFace. Well, actually, this is what TwoFace looks like now in the most recent iteration of LEGO DC Supervillains. This is the current design for TwoFace himself. As you can see, he is far more scarred and terrifying for certain, but not to say that the LEGO Batman design is not particularly terrifying either. I think this one turned out super duper cool as well. I'm very happy with this design. I actually would say that I think that the LEGO Batman video game design is probably the coolest look for TwoFace, in my opinion. I just really like the black and white dichotomy for the costume. I think it looks really nice. And so with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know down in the comment section below which of the designs was your favorite. There were 12 in total to take a look at. Let me know down in the comment section below. Hit the thumbs up button, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody.
There's no risk if you don't try at anything, so I'ma just keep buying everything. See you in the next life, have to be a better me. I don't think that my head's on straight, gotta flip it and grip it and go and get an x-ray. What's wrong with me? I just feel weight pushing on my chest and it squeezes till I suffocate. Better change my mindset, meditate. It's pretty cool that I'm alive and have better days. I could walk, see, hear, I should celebrate. Think I could change my mind.